Hi, everybody. I'm Mr. Wildcat, and I hope you all having a wonderful day. And I'd like to wish you all a wonderful Halloween. I know that's coming up in a couple of days. So, before we continue, I have a very special announcement. Those of you who have enjoyed my Married Children reviews, I do appreciate that. I am going to be taking a short break from it, especially since my recent reviews of Married Children, Turning Japanese, and the two-parter You Better Shop Around. Nobody's been watching them, and they've been up for a while. So I don't know if anybody's still watching them or if anybody still has any interest. So I've decided to take a short break from that. If you'd like me to come back sooner than later to do some more Married Children, and if you would like me to do a specific episode that I've not already done, please hit me in the comments below, and I will be happy to help you out with that. But today we are going to be we're going to be going down another route. In honor of Halloween, we're going to be doing a horror movie review. Okay, so yes, this is another one of Mr. Wildcat's movie reviews. And in honor of Halloween, and in honor of an actress who had recently passed away, this was one of her signature films. So, in honor of her passing, we are going to be doing this review as well. We are doing the 1976 version of Carrie. Ooh. Better be good. You don't want to piss her off. So, a little bit of a background before we dig in. Okay, we will go through some trivia down the road, but before we kick into this film, there are some things we have to dig into. So, Carrie is the first novel that was published by Stephen King. It was his fourth novel that he had written, but it was the first to be published. And this was published back in 1974 to be exact. Okay. And shortly after Stephen King published the novel, he received $2,500 for the film rights to this movie. It was distributed by United Artists, originally premiered in the theaters on November 3rd, 1976. It was produced on a $1.8 million budget and grossed $33.8 million in the U.S. and Canada for a profit of $32 million even. So it was a very popular film. So my first exposure to Carrie dates back 20 years ago to 2003. VH1, they wound up doing these special TV shows. Like they did I Love the 80s. And then the I Love the 80s special was so popular they digged into the 70s and they did I Love the 70s. And then what these specials were about is it was a 10 episode miniseries that basically wound up airing pretty much the whole week. They did 2 episodes each day, in each episode consisted of a specific year. And then what they did was they picked like the best and the worst of what happened in that year. Okay, headlines, culture, TV shows, movies, music, anything that was extremely popular during that specific year. They did a list of topics, whatever they had room for, and then they left a couple of minutes for each of those specific topics, and they would be commented on by a wide variety of people. Okay, Carrie was covered in the episode for 1976. So I love 1976. One of the segments they covered was Carrie. And after watching that segment, it made me want to go watch the movie. And yes, I had seen both the television and the theatrical versions. I did not watch the actual film version, the theatrical version, until recently when I saw it on an online streaming service for free. So I decided to take advantage of that and go watch it. And there's a lot to talk about there once we get there. But basically, this was a film I've been wanting to do for a while, and with Halloween around the corner, this is the appropriate time to do it. So let's dig in. Okay, let's briefly talk about some of our cast members. All right, so Carrie White is our main character here. She is a shy 16-year-old who is constantly mocked and bullied at school. Okay, Carrie in this film is played by Sissy Spacek, who has a very impressive resume. Okay, I think this was her first major film role. Okay, and she's mostly famous for this, but she's also starred in the 1980 film Coal Miner's Daughter, where she played Loretta Lynn. And then she also starred in other films, including Missing from 1982, The River from 1984, JFK from 1991. Let's see, Nine Lives in 2005, Old Man and the Gun 2018. Okay, she's also has received a bunch of nominations. So basically, she's been nominated 6 times for an Academy Award, and Carrie was her first nomination. She won the Oscar for Coal Miner's Daughter, and then the other films that she was nominated for were 1982 film Missing, the 1984 film The River, the 1987 film Crimes of the Heart, and then the 2001 film In the Bedroom. Okay, she's got a pretty impressive resume. And what's even more amazing to me is that Sissy Spacek was actually in her mid to late 20s when she was playing Carrie. Okay, Carrie is a 16-year-old girl being played by an actress who was actually 10 years older than the character she was actually depising. Okay. Okay, we'll talk. See, you also have other people, including John Travolta and Edie McClurg. They're very famous individuals. We'll talk a little bit about later. They're making their theatrical film debuts in this one here. Piper Laurie. All right, she's the one who just passed away recently, and this is one of her signature roles. Okay, for the longest time, I thought Carrie's mother was played by that same lady who not only starred in Soap, but also Who's the Boss. But apparently, that was like Catherine Halmstead or something like that. I have to. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll look that up real quick. Okay. Soap. Dee 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 dee. Catherine Helmond. All right. Okay. I thought that was the same person, but apparently it's somebody different. Okay. So why don't we get started? Okay, with the film, and then we'll talk more about the trivia down the road. Okay. And this is not going to be one of the. We're not going to be doing like we do our Mary Children reviews, which we're going to be going 2 hours breaking down the whole film. We're just going to be going a brief thing down the road. It's not going to take more than probably take about 20, 30 minutes at the latest. Okay, so grab some popcorn and let's get started. So the 1976 version of Carrie. It starts off with Carrie playing volleyball with her classmates in gym class. They're outside playing volleyball, and everybody's they're doing a very good job playing the game. Carrie's the only one who can't play, and she's consistently bullied. She's being punched. She's being called inappropriate names and stuff like that. And then the game basically comes to an end. They head back to the locker room, to shower and dressed again before heading back to class. Okay. The opening credits. Oh my God, this one made me so hot. Oh my God. This by itself, okay? Did I forget to mention that this film is rated R? Carrie is rated, okay. The opening credits by itself is enough. That by itself is enough to give this film an automatic R rating. And I'll explain why. You're in a gym locker room with a bunch of ladies that are either naked or half dressed. All right, full breasts with nipples, vaginas, and unshaved pussy. Okay. Now, okay, gave me an opportunity to see like what a female body looks like, but I'll tell you right now, okay, it's not really in my business to see what a girl looks like and it's also none of my business to know whether or not girls still shave their down under in today's age, but back then they evidently did not. All right. So like you're seeing them getting, they're half dressed, like they're in their bras, they're in their nipple, they're fully naked with their breasts and their vagina and their pussy, or their pubic hair actually. Then they're basically chatting and getting dressed, while Carrie's the only one in the shower, and basically she's sitting there washing her whole body and stuff, and then eventually she drops the soap, and guess what happens? Carrie has her first period. Okay? Oh my god. Okay? Now normally I'm not a girl and I don't know much about girls growing up, but normally girls, from my knowledge, girls get their periods much earlier. Okay? Like they're already know how to take care of them. Like they get their periods either in the 5th or 6th grade. Their first period in the 5th or 6th grade. That's what I know. Okay. So and then in order to keep their, it happens once a month, where like for a couple of days each month, where they wind up bleeding. It's basically the eggs in their body are basically okay. They're being drained out. Okay. It's the end of the menstrual cycle, in which the egg in the body does not fertilize with the sperm, with any sperm, if any at all. The girl does not get pregnant, so it comes out through a series of blood for a couple of days. And to keep the blood from getting on their clothes, the girls use either a tampon or a maxi pad. Okay. Please do not explain to me why I know about this shit, and I don't want to know any more than I already. I don't want to, and I don't even know why I'm explaining this. Okay, and I don't want to know more than I already know. Okay, so God Almighty. So Carrie, okay, she's never known. Okay, she's a late boomer, and she's never had her period before, and oh my God. Okay, she's freaking out. She does not know what to do. So she screams and she goes to her classmates to ask for help. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. What do I do? So what do they all do? They go in their lockers. They grab their tampons and maxi pads, and then they go into this little this tampon dispenser that's up on the wall in the locker room. They pry that open. And they start throwing all these all these girls and stuff. They start throwing tampons and maxi pads at Carrie while she's in the shower. Plug it up! Plug it up! Plug it up! Plug it up! Then you have Miss Collins, the gym teacher. She is about to experience what's going on. She basically screams at them and tells them to get the hell out of the locker room while she tries to calm Carrie down and try to talk some sense into her. Okay? So anyway, after that little mishap, Miss Collins decides to take Carrie to the principal, explain to her what she explains to the principal exactly what the girls did, and like Carrie is basically Carrie didn't know about her period. Her mother, okay, I'll tell you right now. You're probably wondering, why didn't her mother? Okay, this is something that her mother should have explained to her, and yes, she should have. But when you see her mother, holy fucking Christ, you're gonna understand why it has never been explained. Okay, her mother is a delusional religious nut, heavily obsessed with the Lord. Okay, for all the wrong reasons. Okay, and basically because it's public schools, they can't force religious beliefs down people's throats, so that they can't really. So all they do is just call the mother and let them know about about Carrie having her period in school, and then they basically decide Carrie is. They decide to excuse Carrie from school for the rest of the day, let her walk home, and Carrie is being excused for gym class for the next week, and she's to take study hall instead. Study hall is basically you go to the library, do your homework, or if you've already done your homework, you do some miscellaneous research, whatever you want to do, free time, what you want to do. So the principal, he can't pronounce Carrie's name properly. He keeps calling her Cassie, and even after Carrie and Miss Collins has basically repeatedly corrected him over and over again, it basically pissed Carrie off so hard that she basically takes her eyes, she looking directly at the ashtray on the principal's desk. She screams, "It's Carrie!" And then the ashtray flips up and smashes on the floor before and then she runs out of the office. Okay. On her way home, okay, she comes across a little boy on a bicycle who apparently knows Carrie and starts teasing her. And then Carrie looks directly at him and then basically uses some kind of that basic okay psychiatric force from using her eyes, knocks the kid off the bicycle, okay, and that puts him in his place, okay. This is Carrie's way of getting back at anybody who's making fun of her, and she's getting sick of it, okay. So then she finally heads home, where she's upstairs, basically trying to console herself after what happened. And then, okay, we have, Carrie's mother is Margaret, okay. She's a fanatically religious and unstable mother, okay. Okay. Margaret finds out about Carrie having her first period, and her religious beliefs are that her menstruation was caused by sin. And she forces Carrie to accept the fact that she had sinned, but the fact, like, oh my God, Margaret is so fucking insane, okay? Carrie is trying to, okay, she's trying her best to basically talk some sense into her mother, but there's no negotiating whatsoever. There's no progress. Okay. Eventually, she's forced to say, "I have sinned. I have sinned." Then Margaret throws Carrie into this little closet, locks her up, where she's basically confronted with this cross, and she basically sits there and prays. Okay. For forgiveness. Okay. After a couple of hours, Carrie comes out and basically saying she's been and asks her mother for forgiveness, and she's basically relieved from the closet and asked to go to bed. Okay. Following morning. Okay. Following day at school, Miss Collins drops the bombshell on Carrie's classmates. So while Carrie is at the study hall, away from gym, Miss Collins is having a meeting with the classmates in the gymnasium, which, might I add, that they have actually vandalized the gymnasium, saying Carrie White eat. One of the phrases, Carrie White eats shit. All right. Is basically plastered on one of the walls, and you see the janitor trying to frantically wipe it off. Now, this type of vandalism in the real world would get you expelled from school. if not suspension or expulsion at say the very least. Okay, so Collins does the roll call, and then she gets them into two different lines and tells them that they should be ashamed of themselves for what they have done, and they need to accept the fact that Carrie has feelings of her own. And how would you feel if you were in her shoes? Okay. So basically, senior prom is right around the corner, and Miss Collins has a mind of her own. All right. Miss Collins' original form of punishment for this little shower incident is that she's decided she originally wanted to suspend all the girls for 3 days and revoke their prom tickets. Okay? That would get them where it hurts the most. But no. School administration has decided that they will have a week's detention instead. But there's one little catch. It is to be Miss Collins's detention, and her detention is 50 minutes in on the field each day, working their ass off doing workouts non-stop. Failure to Chris, one of the biggest bullies out of the whole group, she's being very cocky. She refuses to, not only does she refuse to listen to the gym teacher, but she's also threatening not to participate in this detention. Then Ms. Collins' response is, "It is your decision. You have a choice. Week's detention or 3 days suspension and refusal of your prom tickets." Okay? So that's the catch. So Ms. Collins does get to tie in her original punishment in a way of making them participate. So she gets them all out in the field. They're all doing sit-ups nonstop while Carrie's in the library trying to research books on psychiatric powers. Okay? And then this one scene, okay, we're about 10 minutes from detention ending for the first day, and Miss Collins has all the girls running up and down in place. Okay? Keep moving, I can't hear you. Keep it up. Okay? Chris has finally had enough, and she decides to stand up for herself. And she basically walks away, and she walks up to she approaches Miss Collins, where Miss Collins is saying, "The period's not over, Chris. It is for me. You have 10 minutes. Okay? Chris tells Miss Collins to shove it up her ass, or she at least tries to say shove it up. Okay. She means shove it up your ass, but she actually gets to the point where you can shove it up your, and before she can finish her sentence, Miss Collins goes over and she literally whacks Chris right in the face. Now, in the real world, okay, hitting a student like that would, or at least in this day and age, hitting a kid like that would get you an automatic termination from your teaching job. Okay? Well, let's take a look at some of these other incidents, shall we? So, we have there's two examples I'll mention. Woody Hayes and the Ohio State Buckeyes. So, Woody Hayes, he coached Ohio State football from 1951 to 1978. He's coached the team for 28 years. It does not matter, okay? So, at the end of the 78th season, they were playing the Gator Bowl against the Clemson Tigers, their first ever matchup with each other. And towards the end of the game, Clemson intercepted a ball from Ohio State, which cost the Buckeyes the game. And Woody Hayes went up to the player who caught the interception and punched him in the neck. Now, doesn't matter what you have done over the past 28 years, that incident by itself got him fired. Nobody would ever tolerate such a move like that. Okay? So that's why he got the boot. All right? Another incident, 2001 or 2000. All right, 2000, 2001. I don't remember. Bobby Knight and the Indiana Hoosiers basketball team. So Bobby Knight apparently had coached Indiana basketball for 30 years since 1971, and apparently there were some videos coming out that had circulated about him throwing chairs and hitting players who either um, talk out of place or refer to him in the improper manner. Okay, they show that they don't show him the respect that he expects them to give him, or something like that. And eventually he got fired for that. Okay, because nobody would tolerate such a thing. Okay, so anyway, going back to the movie, she basically strikes Chris, and Chris asks her classmates to stand with her. Like, they can't hurt us if we all stick together, and nobody wants anything to do with it, because not only is Chris an asshole, but everybody else wants to go to prom, and they don't want to take a chance by standing up with her. So Chris, unfortunately, is all by herself, and she will not tolerate it. And she basically says, "This isn't over, not by a long shot." And then she walks away. So, as punishment for that, Chris has been permanently, she has been banned from attending the senior prom. Okay? So, let's take a look next. Okay? Okay. So Carrie is then seen driving down the road, riding in a car with her boyfriend Billy Nolan, who's played by John Travolta. All right, in his first theatrical film. And basically, Carrie tells Chris how much she hates Carrie White, and they decide to plot a very nasty prank against Carrie. Okay. Meanwhile, Sue Snell, she's going out with this hunky guy, Chris Hargensen. No, Tommy Ross. My apologies. Tommy Ross, who's played by William Cat. Okay. He's a very smart individual in class, and he's also a very good athlete on the field, playing football, track and field, and he's about to hit nationals and stuff like that. Sue basically asks Tommy a special favor. Sue feels very bad about the way that she had been treating Carrie, and she wants to make things up to her by asking Tommy to ask Carrie out to the prom. Okay? So Tommy meets up with Carrie while Carrie's in her study hall and asks Carrie to go to the prom. And Carrie, she's very scared, and she runs away from the whole thing. And then she runs off to the gym teacher to tell her about what happens. And gym teacher said, "Well, that's very good. Why aren't you taking up the offer?" Well, Carrie is very scared. She feels like she's going to be, okay, she feels like she's being set up for another prank. Okay? She feels like it's some kind of setup. So, she basically talks, Miss Collins winds up talking with Sue and Tommy about what they had done, and basically they're trying to tell Miss Collins that they're not intending on, this is not a prank. They are wanting to make things right to her and show her a good time. And Miss Collins isn't really buying it, and she basically tells them to please stay away from Carrie. Okay. So then eventually, okay. Carrie believes the proposition's a prank, but he insists it is genuine. And it gets to the point where Tommy somehow got Carrie's address and shows up at her house, consistently begging Carrie to go to the prom with him. And he will not leave until he gets a yes out of her. And eventually, just to get Tommy away, she basically discovers that she has decided to to finally accept the invitation. Okay. Now, Carrie also during this process, Carrie also discovers that she has a a power called telekinesis, and apologize if I butcher that properly. So basically, what it is a hypothetical psychic ability allowing an individual to influence a physical system without physical interaction. Experiments to prove the existence of telekinesis have theoretically been criticized for lack of proper control or repeatability, but in the case of this, basically what it does is basically allows you to move physical objects around without actually touching them, or you basically control them with your eyes or your mind. Okay, and she's about to exercise those rights. So later that night, Carrie tells her mother that she's been invited to go to the prom, and Margaret is not okay. She will not allow Carrie to go. She doesn't want her being around men because she feels that it's another sin or whatever. Okay, it's some kind of insane sin or whatever. And she's about to drag Carrie into the closet again for another round of prayers when when Carrie basically uses her telekinesis powers to basically put her mother in her place, saying, "I'm going to the prom, whether you like it or not." Okay? All right. Okay. So basically, she eventually prepares for the prom, despite Margaret's consistent protests. And then in the process, Margaret sees that Carrie's telekinetic powers, she notices her powers, denounces her as a witch and a Satan hidden inside her body. Okay? So basically, okay, while everybody's getting ready for the prom, Chris and Billy, okay, so Chris and Billy have a very dangerous plan in place, okay? First of all, um, Chris and Billy and a few other friends, they head off to a farm where they wind up slaughtering a pig with an axe, and then they take the pig's blood, put it in a gas can, okay? They then take the gas can up to the school gym where they pour the blood into a silver bucket where they put on top of the stage that is going to be used for the prom. Okay? They have also implemented a plan after finding out that Carrie and Tommy are going to the prom together. They decide to put Carrie and Tommy on the ballot for homecoming royalty. And they've also devised a plan where when it comes to the prom, you're voting that when it comes to voting for the royalty, they have fixed they have decided to they pick up they with the help of a few classmates, they collect the ballots from the legitimate ballots from the actual crowd. They then take those ballots and throw them into a bush, and then they pick up a stack of forged ballots that are all in favor of Carrie and Tommy. They basically have rigged it to ensure that Carrie and Tommy are going to win prom king and queen. Okay? Oh dear, I do not like this one bit. This is how certain politicians have the exact same way certain politicians have gotten into office, and I'm not going to go much into it, but This is kind of freaky. Okay. But anyway, they basically switch the ballots to ensure that Carrie wins the prom queen title. And then they eventually go to the prom. They enjoy their time, and they eventually count the ballots. And then it's revealed that Carrie and Tommy are the official prom king and queen. So they get up on stage, they're crowned, and Carrie's given the flowers. And then the plan here is for Billy and Chris are going to be standing. They're going to be hiding underneath the stage, and they have attached a rope, okay, in their hands, okay. Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to at the moment when Carrie is been awarded prom queen and she's in the right position, Chris is going to pull the rope, and this bucket of pig's blood is going to spill over all over Carrie. Okay? But before that happens, okay, Sue, who apparently she decides not to go to prom because she gave up her prom invitation or her prom ticket after having her boyfriend go to prom with Carrie instead of her. She walks in to basically witness Carrie and Tommy win royalty, and then she realizes, holy shit, something bad is about to happen. She goes to investigate, and she realizes she dips under the stage, and she realizes that Chris and Billy are about to do something very bad. Miss Collins, okay, she notices Sue is about and what she's doing, and apparently she is under the suspicion that Sue is up to no good. So she grabs Sue and throws her in out of the gym. Okay? And just as she's being thrown out of the gym, that's when Chris decides to pull the plug and cover Carrie with pig blood. Okay? Everybody is shocked, they're sympathetic, and they're upset. Meanwhile, you have Tommy on stage. Okay? There's no audio, okay? But he basically mouths, "What the fuck was that for? Who did this?" And apparently the bucket falls off the ledge and hits Tommy in the head, knocking him unconscious. Okay? Alright? The crowd is left shocked, speechless, and sympathetic to the prank. Alright? However, Carrie is having a hallucination. She thinks everybody is mocking her and laughing at her, believing it was their plan all along. Like, she realizes, now I know why I was asked to go to prom with Tommy. They decided to make a prank out of it, and everybody was in on it. Okay? You basically have Carrie illuminating that they're all laughing at her, while you have Margaret's voice hammering into Carrie's head over and over again. "They're gonna laugh at you! They're gonna laugh at you! They're gonna laugh at you! They're gonna laugh at you!" Okay? Chris and Billy, okay, they realize, mission accomplished. Let's get the hell out of here. So they sneak out through the back and they sneak out the door. Just as they have snuck out of the gymnasium, Carrie decides to pull out her ultimate powers. Okay, she seals off all the exits to the gymnasium, and you have students that attempt to open the doors and exit. Anybody who does try to exit is electrocuted. Okay, left to die in the process. Okay. She telekinetically seals off the exits, injures the students attempting to escape. All right. Meanwhile, Miss Collins is crushed by a falling basketball backboard. Okay. She then uses her powers to open up the fire hose that is used for emergencies, okay, to put out a fire in the gymnasium, and basically starts setting off the hose, spraying the entire gymnasium, spraying all the kids, spraying everybody throughout the entire gymnasium. Then the teacher and you have the teacher and the principal. They're all up on stage trying to get a hold of the microphone, trying to talk some sense and trying to get everything under control. The fire hose eventually makes its way up to the stage where it gets over the electrical equipment for the microphones, and it electrocutes and kills the teacher and principal up on the stage right then and there. Then eventually, the whole gymnasium starts catching on fire. Okay? While all this is happening, Billy and Chris are right outside watching through the window, and and Chris is horribly shot. What the fuck did we do? Okay? So as the gymnasium is catching fire, as the fire spreads throughout the gymnasium, and it basically kills everybody in the thing. And the only one who survives is Carrie, because she uses her powers to briefly open up the doors so she can walk, so she can leave, and then she seals it back up so nobody else can get in or out. Then she's walking home down the street. While she's walking home down the street, Chris and Billy, they hop in Billy's car, and Chris is actually behind the wheel, and they're driving down the street. They see Carrie walking home, and Chris decides one last try to run over and kill Carrie. But guess what? Carrie realizes they're coming. At the last second, she turns around and uses her powers to thwart Chris just enough to have the car swerve over numerous times, and then eventually the car catches fire, exploding, killing Chris and Billy instantly at the same time. Okay? Okay, causes the car to explode. They're both killed. So Carrie then heads home. She basically hops upstairs to. She hops in a bath to clean off all of the blood off of her body, and then she puts on a fresh pair of pajamas. Then she basically asks for forgiveness from her mother, Margaret. Okay, at that point, Margaret reveals that Carrie was conceived when her drunk husband Ralph had raped her, an act that Margaret shamefully admits that she had enjoyed. Okay? And she did not want the same thing happening to her, which is why she had raised Carrie the way she had. But guess what? All right? She notices that there's a Satan inside of Carrie's body, and she's a psychological witch, and decides that she needs to get that evil spirit out of her. So what she does is, while she's up there consolidating Carrie, she has a kitchen knife in her hand, and she successfully stabs Carrie in the back. Carrie then falls down the stairs onto the living room floor, and then the mother comes running down the stairs after her with that knife in her hands. Got a black magic woman. Got a black magic woman. I'm sorry, guys. That was totally inappropriate. But that's what they were when they were showing this particular scene in the "I Love the '70s" segment. They were using that song in the background, so that's where that comes from. So she grabs the knife and okay. And then Carrie's basically having to haul herself back as far as she can. And then when she finally gets to the point where she can't crawl back anymore, Margaret's about to stab She's about to stab Carrie dead once and for all. Carrie finds the other kitchen utensils in the kitchen, and she starts one by one throwing them directly at Margaret, stabbing her in the hands, and then stabbing her multiple times in the chest. Okay? Okay, and then she basically, Ah! And then she has a very creepy smile on her face when she eventually dies. Okay. All right. So basically, it kills Margaret, and just as Carrie's about to haul, okay, at the same time, Carrie is basically hauling her mother off the walls, which at that point the house implodes. She basically destroys the house, and then okay, while the house is falling all apart, Carrie drags her mother into the closet where they both lock themselves in there and hide. And eventually, basically, the whole house is destroyed, and it all goes imploding into the ground. And eventually, Carrie is she winds up dying as well. Okay. Sometime down the road, okay. Now, eventually, the only person who survived this whole prom um, murder incident was Sue. Okay. And the reason why she survived was because Miss Collins kicked Sue out of the gymnasium just before everything went out. Okay. So she's basically in her, she's resting in bed, and she's apparently in some kind of coma or something. Okay. Where she winds up resting. Okay. Longer than she is supposed to. But it is normal for somebody who's been through that much trauma. Okay. Then we see Sue in a dream where Sue heads off to the property where Carrie's house once stood. It's basically a huge rectangle piece of charcoal sunk into the okay, that is deep into the ground, and it's all black, it's all burned, it's full of charcoal, and then right in the middle of it, there's a big cross on there that says "for sale." Okay, okay. There's a for sale sign on the right in the middle of the charred remains. And then on the sign, it is vandalized in black paint with the words, Carrie White burns in hell. Okay? Sue had eventually came to bring flowers for Carrie, and she came to apologize for everything that she had done to Carrie. And she decides to put flowers on her grave in a symbol of peace. So just as just as Sue is about to take those flowers and put them on the grave, Carrie's arm, covered in blood, comes right out of the charcoal remains and grabs Sue. And Sue is yelling at the top of her lungs. Okay? Okay? Sue wakes up screaming as her mother tries to comfort her. Okay? It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And that is the end of the film. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about all right. So let's talk a little bit more about Carrie. Okay. So see, going to the IMDb page here. It is rated R for a couple of reasons. It's the opening credits is filled with nudity. Okay, there's also a lot of violence. There's also some very strong language, and there's also some extreme violence. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, okay, how were they able to show this particular? How were they able to show the opening version, okay, on TV? Well, apparently there was a alternative version that was produced specifically for TV. The original network TV version opens with an alternate pan across the girls' locker room, with most girls wearing at least bras and panties. Okay, Nancy Allen, who plays okay, who plays Chris Hargensen. Okay, she is naked but covers herself with a towel. There's a mid-scene dissolve and some brief additional slow motion in sloppy effort to resync the soundtrack because the shot was shorter than the original one. The alternative take of the shower scene was shot specifically for the network television version of Carrie. Also, this sequence, the on-screen credits are white instead of red and centered on the screen. Most profanity, especially during the scene with Travolta and Nancy Allen arguing while he is driving, is relooped to remove bad language. Alternate non-profane takes are used when Travolta and Allen are stopped in a parking lot just before the oral sex scene, which of course is deleted. In recent years, this print of the movie has vanished from circulation. Okay? Which probably explains why we don't see this on TV anymore. Okay? So let's go, let's check out some more trivia, shall we? Come on. Okay. You're going to love this one, okay? We'll read that later. We are in the middle of the video here. So, now, you're basically going to, okay, believe this. Amy Irving, who plays Sue Snell, okay? Sue Snell's character, Mother's character, Mrs. Snell, is Priscilla Pointer. In real life, Amy Irving and Priscilla Pointer are they're a real life mother and daughter. So they play a mother and daughter in the film, while at the same time they're a mother and daughter in real life. Okay? In the last scene of the film, Amy Irving's outburst was so terrified her real mother, Priscilla Pointer, that she screamed out Amy instead of Sue. She had never seen her daughter that hysterical and called out her real name in concern. However, the loud ending music covered up the They did keep this take in the actual film, but they were able to cover it up with the loud ending music. Okay? So when Sissy Spacek was preparing for her character, she isolated herself from the rest of the ensemble, decorating her dressing room with heavy religious iconography, and studied Gustave Dor's Illustrated Bible. She also studied the body language of people being stoned for their sins, starting or ending every scene in one of those positions. Okay? The name of the high school is Bates High, a reference to Norman Bates for the 1960 film Psycho. In addition, the four-note violin theme from Psycho is used over and over throughout the film, especially when Carrie is about to use her powers. So basically, the Psycho theme is when when Norman Bates is murdering the lady in the shower in the motel. The same violin is used over and over and over again. Okay? We've already talked about that. Let's see. Nancy Allen claims that she had never realized her character was going to be so evil until she actually finished the film. She thought that she and John Travolta were playing such self-centered, bickering morons that they were there for comic relief. Pipper Laurie also thought that the character of Margaret was so over the top that the film had to be a comedy. Holy wow. Okay. The ending of the movie is different from the ending of the novel. In fact, Stephen King liked the movie ending so much better than the book, than the version of his own book. Okay. Betty Buckley. Okay. Betty Buckley, who plays Miss Collins. Okay. She was 28 years old at the time of the filming, only 2 years older than Sissy Spacek, and 3 years older than Nancy Allen and P.J. Souls, who plays her students. So, very well. Okay. So it just goes to show like how very young these other actresses were. They were able to play teenagers in their 20s, while the coach was able to play a real grown-up woman, or a gym teacher in high school in her late 20s. Okay. Sissy Spacek was not considered for the role of Carrie until her husband, art director Jack Fisk, convinced director Brian De Palma to allow her to audition. Until that, De Palma had weeded to the idea of Amy Irving playing Carrie. When Spacek got the part instead, De Palma gave Irving the smaller role of Sue. Okay, already talked about that. Basically, Sissy Spacek asked Brian De Palma how he wanted her to react when Carrie first realizes that she is bleeding in the showers, and it's the start. And De Palma told her, "It's like you've been hit by a Mack truck." Spacek talked to her husband, who was the art director, who as a child had been run over by a car when he was standing in the streets looking at Christmas lights a neighbor had put up, and used his description of the experience as a basis for the scene. Okay, so the religious figure shot with arrows represents Saint Sebastian. So that religious figure you see in the little closet in Carrie's house, which she winds up getting locked into to pray for forgiveness, it's Saint Sebastian. It is not a crucifix and does not represent Jesus Christ. Like, I knew there was something wrong with that to begin with. Okay? Success of Carrie at the box office had officially cemented Stephen King's name as an author. King himself was delighted for the film. Okay? Let's see. What else do you want to do here? So, Adi McClurg, who plays Helen, originally had no dialogue in any part of the film, so she decided to improvise instead. This resulted in everything that we see Helen say in the film being completely made up by the actress, in which Brian De Palma wind up approving naturally. Okay, let's see. John Travolta auditioned on a lunch break while filming Welcome Back, Kotter. He showed up for his audition still. So John Travolta, he was doing Welcome Back, Kotter, which aired from 1975 to 79. It was his first acting gig. While on a lunch break from Welcome Back, Kotter, he went over to audition for the role of Carrie. So he's still dressed up in his Welcome Back, Kotter outfit when he auditioned. And then Carrie turned out to be his first theatrical role. John Travolta would go on to do a wide variety of films, including but not limited to Saturday Night Fever, Grease, the Look Who's Talking franchise, and Pulp Fiction, just to name a few. Okay. So, let's see. Bernard Herrmann, who had been nominated for an Oscar for the music to De Palma's previous film Obsession from 1976, was slated to compose the score, but had passed away the December before the film was completed. Herrmann's four notes violin theme from Psycho is used over and over as a result. So, holy shit. Yeah, I thought he died a lot later than that. Okay. Shame. We're not going to go over everything here, so. So let's talk about. Let's see. So the film actually received two Oscar nominations at the Academy Awards the following year. The first was for Sissy Spacek for Best Actress, which she wound up losing to Faye Dunaway for the film Network. All right. Faye Dunaway, she's best known for her role as Bonnie Parker in Bonnie and Clyde, and she also did a wide variety of other films, including Chinatown. She did Network. She did the Thomas Crown Affair and the Towering Inferno, just to name a few. Okay, and she works for the TV network. My favorite moment from Faye Dunaway in the network is, "Son of a bitch, we struck a mother loud." Okay. Of course, Sissy Spacek was still young. She would go on to be nominated for 5 more Oscars for Best Actress, and she would win 4 years later for her role as Loretta Lynn in Coal Miner's Daughter. Okay. The other Oscar that Carrie was nominated for was Piper Laurie, who plays Margaret White, Carrie's mother, for Best Supporting Actress. She wound up losing to Patrice Straight, who played Louise Schumacher in the film Network. Okay? So, the one interesting fact about Patrice Straight's Oscar win for Network is that her performance in Network is the shortest ever to have won an Academy Award for acting at just 5 minutes and 2 seconds of screen time. So, the Network, how long was that film? That was 121 minutes. So out of the 121 minutes, Patrice only appeared in 5 of those minutes. 5 minutes out of the whole film. And yet she won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Okay. Did Piper Laurie receive any other nominations? Yes, she did. She actually was nominated for Best Actress in 1961 for The Hustler, and then getting in 1986 for Children of a Lesser God. Okay. Hardly won. She won a Golden Globe for Twin Peaks and a couple of film festival awards over the past couple years. But other than that, she hasn't really won anything else. Okay. Some of the other roles that Piper Laurie had appeared in. Okay. She's basically had made a resume of herself. Okay. So prior to Carrie, she wound up doing, The Hustler from 1961. She wound up doing, Mississippi Gambler from 1953. The Prince Who Was a Thief from 1951. And afterwards, she did Aunt E.M. from Return to Oz in 1985. She did, a whole bunch of stuff I've never heard of before. Okay. 2012 film Bad Blood, she played Millie Lathrop. Okay, I'm not going to go through her resume because it's another thing of her own. Okay. The film was a huge success. Okay. So basically, the film, there was a sequel made in 1999 called The Rage Carrie 2, featured another teenager with telekinetic powers who was revealed to have shared a father with Carrie White. That film, unfortunately, received universally negative reviews and was a huge box office failure. The only person from the original Carrie film to reprise her role in the sequel was Amy Irving, okay, who reprised her role as Sue Snell, okay, and for good reason too, because everybody else all the other characters were killed in the previous film, okay, so that would make sense. And since then, there's been a couple other remakes. A 2002 television film starring Angela Bates in the title role, as well as a 2013 remake. Okay, I've seen a couple of scenes from those particular things, and I tell you right now, they do not match up to the significance and the greatness that the original film has commenced on. Okay, so what do I think of Carrie? So Carrie is it's a good film. As somebody who has been bullied in poked on through a majority of my schooling years. I can feel myself in Carrie's shoes, and I the stuff that Carrie has done. I have actually there are times where I've actually wanted to do those, right? And I've actually wanted to do those. Okay, but unfortunately, in the real world, those type of powers do not exist. Okay, but of course, I do make myself perfectly known. Do not fuck with me, or I will fuck with you. And if I have to fuck with you, you better run for your life. If there's one thing I can get out of this film, out of this whole film, it's basically don't fuck with Carrie. Okay? Yes, she may be shy, she may be lonely, but she holds obsessive powers that can come back to bite you in the ass if you ever so fuck with her. Okay? So that's the one thing I really got out of the film. Okay? For my rating, I will give Carrie the 19. We are just doing the 1976 version. We're not considering the other remakes. Okay? The 1976 version, I would give. I have not read the novel, so I really can't compare. So I literally cannot compare the two together. Okay? But being how great this film was, and how much of a start it got to Stephen King's career, and he would have a lot of his other films be made into films down the road. Okay, he got off to a good start here. It's a film that I have enjoyed before. I've watched over and over, and I would definitely go back and watch it again. This film gets a 5 out of 5. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. There will be other reviews coming down the road. If there's a specific film that you would like Mr. Wildcat to review, please leave your comments in the sections below. And please keep your comments in the boundaries of good taste. Okay? Mr. Wildcat, reminding you all to be good, be careful, and behave. And if you don't, Carrie will come back to haunt you. Ooh. Happy Halloween!